Alright, let's take another look at our payroll in Bellwether Garden Supply. And this assumes that you've already looked at the first payroll YouTube. And here we're going to take a look at a different employee, Alex Cornell. And here's all his general information. And when we go to pay info, we see that Alex, unlike Brandy, is paid hourly instead of a salary. And he's still paid bi-weekly, which is 80 hours. And he gets his regular time and overtime and special, which might be a holiday rate or a Sunday rate. He might get double time for that. Overtime by law is 1.5 times the rate of the regular time if he works more than 40 hours in a particular week. So we would look at his time card and see how many overtime hours that he had. Okay, over here it shows us his hourly pay rate. So he gets $14 an hour for regular, and time and a half, 1.5 times 14 is $21 an hour for overtime. And then his double time is $28 an hour. Here also shows the account number that we're going to use for his gross wages, $77,500. And just like we showed before, we can unclick our default and change that account to something different if we want to. Everything else is the same. The employee fields, the things that we're going to take out of the employee. The company fields, this is what the company has to pay out of their own pocket. This is all similar. The withholding info is similar, only Alex is married with 2 allowances as opposed to, and he's having 4% taken out of his 401k. So let's take a look at actually processing a payroll. And so here we're going to go into pay employees and enter payroll for one employee. Here this is telling us that our payroll tax calculations may be out of date, and this is of course typical. Payroll tax deductions change every single year, and if you're in real life, you're going to have to pay Sage 50 every January to be able to update all your payroll tax information. And you're going to have to pay for that, whether it's Sage or any other program. Here we're just going to use whatever is in their data banks, even though we do know that it is wrong. Alright, so here's our payroll entry. So let's go ahead and we'll bring up Brandy. And it makes out her whole check the minute we checked on her. Okay, so we can change the date. So this can be April 15th. Okay, we can put in whatever check number that this is going to pay to her. We want to take a look at the cash account over to the right. What checking account is this coming out of? Many companies have a separate payroll checking account, and so if they do, then you want to make sure that the paychecks are coming out of the payroll checking account instead of the regular checking account. Okay. Your pay period sometimes is different from the actual pay date. Here we're going to leave it the same as of April 15th. It's showing that there's 2 weeks in the pay period, and so that's fine. Now, her salary, as we saw in the first payroll video, was $12,10.25 for 80 hours. And here's her federal income tax. It calculated that out. It calculated out her Social Security that comes out of her check, the Medicare, the state income tax, and she doesn't have any 401k that comes out. Now down here, these numbers with that don't have a minus sign in front of them are either just informational, and see how the memo box is checked here. So this is telling us that there's little over 3 hours of vacation pay that accrued, that she built up during this pay period. Okay? And she has 3 hours of vacation still left. Okay? And sick pay. Okay? And then down here toward the bottom, we have these numbers. And again, there's no minus sign. So these are not being taken out of her check. But this is showing us how much the employer has to pay toward Brandy. So the employer has to give the IRS $75.04 for Social Security and $17.55 for Medicare, okay, because they have to match her Social Security and Medicare. And they also have to pay federal and state unemployment. And so these are the numbers there that show us how much the company has to pay out of their own pocket, in addition to taking out these amounts out of Brandy and sending them to the IRS as well. Okay, so if I wanted to change this, I could give Brandy $10 bonus, or say $100 bonus, and immediately that recalculated all these things and recalculated her net pay, and the checks all made out just as soon as I clicked on that and changed that to 100. Also note that I can, that these are in white boxes, these taxes that came out. So the federal income tax, which is now at $32.95, if I want to make that my own number, $35, I can do that, except you have to remember to put the minus sign. Okay, so that it'll come out of the check. So you can do that as well if you have any problems on Project 4.5 and it's not bringing up these, then you can put them in yourself. You can calculate them and put them in yourself. Okay, and then I can press save, and now I can put in another employee. So let's put in Alex Cornell. Okay, and once again, it's already calculated. It now assumes that we're still in the April 15th pay period, and it assumes that the next check number after the one I put in for Brandy is the one that I'm going to give to Alex. But I can change that if I need to. It assumes that Alex is getting 80 hours of work for this pay period. Maybe he worked some overtime, 3 hours of overtime. And note that this column is hours, how many hours of overtime, not how many dollars. So he had 3 hours of overtime. It's automatically going to multiply that times his overtime rate of $21 an hour. It's going to add that. It's going to recalculate out how many taxes have to come out. Okay. Now, so he is, and remember that he has 4% of his gross wages coming out for his 401k. Okay, so those are the two main things that you need to be able to do the project. In real life, you would need to, when you set up the company, you would need to go into this payroll setup and actually set up, use the Payroll Wizard to get everything set up. 1099s, these are forms that if we have people that work for us that are not employees. if we have people that work for us that are not employees, then we need to keep track. If they make more than $600 from us, we need to give them a 1099 in January of next year. And this is the button we would use to help keep track of that. Other forms are down here at the bottom. We'll have to give our employees W-2s, and there's also various payroll tax forms that have to be filled out. If you would like to know more about payroll and calculating payroll and filling out the various forms that are necessary, please come and take ACC 150 Payroll Accounting. But for our purposes, we just need to go ahead and be able to put the employees in and do a paycheck. One other thing that you are going to need is under this general tab, there's an employee beginning balances, and for project 4 or 5 you will need to put that in. And so you're going to put in a date that is right before the date of the first transactions, and put in the gross wages as being the amount that was given to you in the narrative as being their beginning cumulative wages. That would go under gross. You can make up a number for federal income tax. Social Security should be 6.2% times whatever you put in for gross, and Medicare should be 1.45% of whatever you put in for gross. And then you can click on Save and Close.